Why are you here? Do you want to know? Let me explain. My name is Christine. I'm a 33-year-old woman working as an engineer for a manufacturing company. I've been married to my husband, Logan, for 7 years. We are a dual-income couple with no children yet. One day, I hope to have kids and take maternity leave while continuing my career. However, everything changed unexpectedly. One day, on my way home from work, I was involved in an accident. Logan was on a long-term business trip overseas at the time. My parents rushed to the hospital and took care of everything, including the admission paperwork. They also informed Logan about the accident right away. Despite their efforts, I felt it was important to talk to Logan myself, especially after hearing the doctor's explanation. When I called Logan, I said, "Hey, Logan, I'm sorry to surprise you with this news." He replied, clearly worried. Really, I was shocked. "I can't come back right away, but how are you? Are you okay?" "I've already informed my company, and I'll return in 5 days." I could sense his concern over the phone, so I explained, "It seems I've been left with paralysis on one side of my body because of the accident." "What? Paralysis on one side of your body? Will it get better with rehab?" he asked, his voice filled with shock. I told him the truth. No, it seems it won't get better anymore. Logan went silent for a moment. I could tell he was struggling to process what I had just told him. I then gathered my courage and shared a decision I had made. "Logan," I said softly, "I don't want to be a burden to you. Your hobbies are outdoor activities and going to festivals. If we stay together, you won't be able to enjoy those things anymore. That's why I think we should get a divorce." There was a long pause. I understood his silence. If you were told someone you loved had permanent paralysis, you'd be confused too. On top of that, being suddenly asked for a divorce would leave anyone in shock. After a few minutes, Logan finally spoke. "Okay, if you say so, Christine. You're stubborn, and once you make up your mind, you don't change it." "Yes, thank you for understanding," I replied, trying to hold back tears. After Logan agreed to the divorce, we ended the call. From then on, we switched to texting. I told him I would ask my parents to leave the divorce papers in our living room the next day. I also mentioned that we would discuss the distribution of property and other details after I was discharged from the hospital. Lastly, I asked him not to visit me at the hospital. Seeing him would be too painful for me, even though I was the one who brought up the divorce. It was one of the hardest decisions of my life, but I believed it was for the best for both of us. I was surprised at how quickly Logan agreed to the divorce. But I reminded myself that he has his own life, and I have mine. There's no time to feel sad or stay stuck in the past. I needed to focus on the next chapter of my life immediately. As planned, I asked my parents to prepare the divorce papers. I told them to place the documents in the living room for Logan to sign when he returned. 5 days later, as expected, Logan came back. He went to our home, signed the papers, and filed them as we had agreed. That day, he called me briefly after finishing the paperwork. "I just got back from the office," he said. "I see. Take care, Logan," I replied. "You too, Christine." And just like that, with a short, simple conversation, our 7 years of marriage came to an end. About a week after the divorce was finalized, I found myself waiting in the lobby of the city hall. I wasn't alone for long. Hey, this way. Hurry up." I heard a woman's voice calling out excitedly. "Calm down, Madison. We still have plenty of time before they close," said a man beside her. A couple hurried toward the counter, looking cheerful. I stood in front of them, smiling warmly. "Long time no see, Logan. And nice to meet you, Madison," I said politely. Madison, meeting me for the first time, looked at me suspiciously. Who are you? How do you know my name? Are you some kind of stalker?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. Logan, on the other hand, froze. His face turned pale as he stared at me in shock. "Christine? What are you doing here? And why are you standing?" he stammered, his voice trembling with disbelief. His reaction made sense. The last time we spoke, I had told him I was paralyzed on one side of my body. Now, I was standing firmly on both feet, with no crutches or support. It had only been about a week since we separated, so his confusion was completely understandable. Surprised to see me standing? I asked calmly. Of course I'm surprised. You said you were paralyzed, and that's why you wanted a divorce.
I,
I held back my tears and agreed, because I didn't want to make things harder for you, Logan replied, sounding hurt. I looked at him steadily and said, held back your tears? Logan, when I asked for a divorce, you agreed, without hesitation. And now, just days later, you're here with Madison and a marriage certificate. Is that what someone heartbroken would do? Logan's face turned red as he tried to hide the marriage certificate behind his back. But it was too late. I had already seen it. Madison, still confused, asked, Hey, who is this woman? And why is she talking to you like she knows you so well? She sounded annoyed, clearly unaware of the situation. The awkward tension hung in the air as I waited for Logan to respond. I decided it was time to explain everything. I turned to Madison and said, Nice to meet you. I'm Christine, Logan's ex-wife. Madison's face immediately changed, and she snapped, What? You're that ex-wife? The one who ignored and looked down on Logan? He's told me so much about you, how you treated him terribly and just dumped him out of nowhere. I can't forgive someone like you. It was clear that Logan had been telling her all sorts of things about me while we were still married. Her outburst caught him off guard, and he quickly looked flustered. Madison, don't say things like that, he stammered before turning to me. Christine, you need to explain. Why did you say you were paralyzed, and now you're standing here perfectly fine? I took a deep breath and calmly replied, Actually, I wasn't in a major accident. There was a big accident near me, and it scared me so much that I fell and sprained my ankle. It was such a minor injury that I felt embarrassed about even being in the hospital. Both of them stared at me in shock. Logan's expression quickly changed to anger.
what?
So you lied about being paralyzed just to get a divorce? Did you want to leave me that badly? Were you having an affair? I looked at him directly and said, Isn't that rich coming from you, Logan? You're here with Madison, getting married just days after our divorce. That's all the proof I need. Logan hurriedly defended himself. No, that's not it. I just met Madison a few days ago. It was a fateful encounter, and we felt so connected that we decided to get married without even dating first. His excuse sounded ridiculous, and Madison wasn't about to stay quiet. She glared at him and argued, How can you say that, Logan? We've been a loving couple for over a year. Even when Christine was causing you so much pain, I was there for you, supporting you. Don't act like what we have is something to hide. Her words left Logan visibly shaken. He put his head in his hands, realizing his excuses weren't holding up. Finally, he admitted, Yes, I did have an affair with Madison. But that doesn't mean I can forgive you, Christine, for lying to me. Why did you pretend to be paralyzed? I smiled slightly and replied, It wasn't a lie exactly. Do you remember the accident I mentioned? When it happened, this prototype I was working on also got damaged. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small mechanical doll. This is a project I've been working on since I joined my company. It's a robot, and I had just finished its prototype. When the accident happened, the doll's left side stopped working. In a way, this doll now has hemiplegia, just like I said. And no amount of rehabilitation can fix it. Both Logan and Madison were speechless as they looked at the broken doll in my hands. I'll be busy fixing the robot for a while, and I won't be able to join you for the outdoor activities and festivals you love. That's why I said we should break up, I explained calmly. Logan's face turned red with anger. That's nonsense. I don't believe you. You must have been cheating on me in secret and lied about the accident just to get a divorce. You were probably scared of paying compensation if your affair was exposed. Isn't that right? I sighed and said, Yes, I lied about having hemiplegia, but it wasn't to cover up an affair or avoid paying anything. I knew you wouldn't agree to a divorce otherwise, so I had to find a way to separate from you. Why would I refuse a divorce? He snapped, though his expression told a different story. My words had hit a nerve. His face flushed and he looked defensive, but he wasn't convincing. Without saying another word, I pulled out a folder from my bag. Take a look at this, I said, holding up several documents. These are our pay slips since we got married. It's clear from these that you can't afford to live on your own. Someone in your position wouldn't agree to a divorce with someone like me, who earns much more, without putting up a fight. Stop it, Logan shouted, trying to grab the documents from my hands. But before he could, Madison leaned in, curiosity getting the better of her. Wait a minute, Madison said, grabbing one of the papers. Her face twisted in confusion as she read. What is this, Logan? You always bragged about having a high income and getting big executive bonuses. That's why we had those fancy dates and nice presents. Was all of that a lie? Were you using Christine's money all along? Logan stammered. And no,
It's not like that.
okay, yes, my salary is low, but together with both of our incomes, it was manageable. Sure, I might have exaggerated a bit, but isn't that normal? Just a little embellishment. Madison interrupted him with a glare. A little embellishment? You lied to me about everything. You made me believe you were rich. And now I find out you were living off Christine's salary? This is unbelievable. Without money, you're worthless to me. Let's break up. Wait, Madison, no. Logan begged, but she turned away from him. Right in front of me, she dumped him on the spot. Watching him get rejected so miserably calmed me a little, but it wasn't enough. Well, Logan, I said firmly, you lied to both of us, so this is your own fault. But don't think your punishment ends here. What do you mean? Christine, I've already been dumped. I'm your ex-husband. Can't you show me a little sympathy? He whined. Ignoring his complaints, I grabbed Madison, who was trying to storm out, and signaled to the lawyer I had waiting nearby. Who's that? Logan sneered. Oh, I get it. You're having an affair, aren't you? No, Logan, I said calmly. This has nothing to do with an affair. It's just justice catching up with you. I am Christine's attorney, the lawyer said calmly. What? Why does a lawyer need to talk to me? Logan asked, irritated. His tone was sharp, but the lawyer stayed calm and professional. The lawyer explained, Logan, you had an affair with Madison while you were still married to Christine. Because of this, you are required to pay compensation to Christine. He then turned to Madison, who looked visibly annoyed and confused. Madison, the lawyer continued, you knowingly had an affair with a married man. Therefore, you are also required to pay compensation to Christine. Madison's face twisted with anger.
Why?
All I did was believe his lies about being wealthy. I was deceived too. Why should I have to pay anything? She argued. Logan joined in, his tone defensive. I didn't really do anything wrong. Why do I have to pay? This is unfair. Both of them tried to avoid responsibility, coming up with excuses for why they shouldn't have to pay. But their arguments didn't stand a chance. They both knew I existed, yet they went ahead with their affair anyway. No matter how much they protested, I was determined to hold them accountable. After more back and forth, Madison reluctantly gave in. She signed the necessary agreements, though she looked like she wanted to scream. Logan, however, continued to resist. Then, out of nowhere, he said something outrageous.
Fine, he said.
I'll pay the compensation, but Christine, let's get remarried. That way, you can cover all the living expenses and entertainment costs like before, and I can use my entire salary to pay off the compensation quickly. I blinked, stunned by his absurd suggestion. Are you seriously suggesting that? I asked. Why on earth would I remarry someone who cheated on me and then tried to leave me when he thought I was paralyzed? What's the big deal? Logan replied, almost casually. I won't cheat anymore, and you're fine now, right? Even if you're busy with work and can't join me for camping or festivals, I won't complain. So let's just get back together. Come on. His reasoning was so ridiculous that I could barely believe my ears. If you had a mechanical body, I thought to myself, I'd want to unscrew your head and replace your brain. But instead of saying that out loud, I replied firmly, Logan, there is absolutely no way I'm getting back together with you. You cheated, you lied, and you abandoned me when you thought I was at my lowest. Reconciliation is not an option, so don't even think about it. Logan finally seemed to realize that I was serious. With both my parents and his parents aware of the situation and fully supporting me, there was no one left on his side. Still, he wasn't done. I admit I have to pay compensation, he said with a smirk, but Christine, You should pay compensation too. Even after everything, he still tried to shift the blame. Typical Logan. I didn't want to keep listening to Logan's nonsense, but I decided to reply anyway. He smirked and said, "You know why? Because you were cheating too, right? You lied about having partial paralysis just to get a divorce. Your lawyer said he wasn't your affair partner, which means you're still seeing someone else. I'll find out who it is and demand compensation from you. Get ready." I sighed, trying to stay calm.
Fine, I said.
If you're so determined, go ahead and investigate as much as you like. You can do it yourself or hire a private detective or an investigation firm. Use your own money and do whatever it takes to satisfy your curiosity. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing strange things. There were times when I felt like I was being followed on my way to work. My parents even mentioned seeing Logan lurking near their house. It was clear he was spying on me, hoping to find evidence of an affair. But since I wasn't cheating, there was nothing for him to find. To my surprise, I later learned that Logan had even skipped work without permission to spy on me. He was so obsessed with proving his baseless accusations that he neglected his job. 3 weeks later, I got a phone call from him. "Christine," he started, his voice shaky. "When are you going to admit to your affair? I've been skipping work without permission, and now my boss says they're going to fire me. Take responsibility and give me some money to live on." I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of his demand. "What are you talking about?" I said. "You chose to skip work and follow me around. That was your decision, not mine. Don't blame me for your actions." I paused before continuing. "So, did you find any proof of this so-called affair? If not, I suggest you stop this nonsense. Otherwise, I'll sue you for stalking. Madison already paid her compensation, but you're the only one still dragging this out." Of course, Logan had no evidence to back up his claims because I hadn't done anything wrong. Realizing he had no case, he finally gave up and reluctantly agreed to pay the compensation he owed me. After that, he was fired from his job, but he managed to find another one. Now, he pays me compensation from his new salary every month. However, in his rush to find work, he ended up at a terrible company. I've heard that he gets harshly scolded by his bosses and coworkers every day and often works late into the night. One day, he called me again, sounding desperate. "Christine, please help me," he begged. But I knew better than to get involved again. "I can't stand this life anymore. I promise I'll never cheat again. Please remarry me. I want to live a good life with your money, eat the meals you cook, and come home to you." Logan begged over the phone. "My parents treat me coldly now, and I have no one but you." He sounded desperate, but his words didn't move me at all. I had no feelings left for him. No matter how much he complained about being alone, it didn't change how he had treated me. As long as he kept sending the monthly compensation payments, that was all I cared about. His personal struggles were no longer my problem. I ignored his calls and messages completely. At first, he kept trying to contact me, but eventually the messages stopped. After one particularly large payment, I never heard from him again. Some of my friends gossiped about what might have happened to him. They said he had been hospitalized because of overwork or that he might be involved in some shady business. I didn't know if those rumors were true, and honestly, I didn't care. Logan was no longer a part of my life. Now, I've completely moved on and focus all my energy on my work. I'm currently developing a new version of the mechanical doll, experimenting with different ideas and designs. It's exciting and fulfilling to be dedicated to something that has so much potential. By this time next year, I'm confident the mechanical doll will be ready for the market. The thought of seeing my hard work finally pay off keeps me motivated every day. I wake up looking forward to the future, feeling more focused and determined than ever. Logan is nothing but a distant memory now. My life is about building something meaningful and achieving my dreams. Each day brings me closer to the moment when I can see my work make a real impact, and that's all I need to feel content.